This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Sedita.
Hello out there. Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sedita. We have a special episode. This is episode 123. I am joined today by a friend of mine, Alison Lucien. She is a realtor with, I totally brain Alan. It's Alan Collins Realty, right? I'm
yes.
The worst. But I should be better at this, and I probably should do 15 different takes, but I like messing up because it looks like it's actually you and I just having a conversation. So Alison is a realtor extraordinaire with Alan Collins Realty, but that has nothing to do with the reason why she's on the Good Neighbor Podcast today. Alison is the current president of the Wesley Chapel Rotary Club, which I am fortunate enough to be a member. You could see I have my pin on for every episode. And we wanted to talk a little bit today about this being January and it being Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and one of the big initiatives that we have going on in the Rotary Club. But before we do that, Alison, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate you having me on today, Mike.
Oh, thank you so much for being on. Week in and week out, I sit in the meeting and I see the amazing things we're doing and that we've been doing for about over 2.5 years at this point, right?
That's right.
So why don't you tell people a little bit about how the initiative got started? Because it started before I was even a Rotarian. How it got started, what was the origins of it, what it really is about, who we're partnering with, and kind of where we're going.
Okay. All right. So the overall project is called Build That Home, and it's a therapeutic home for sexually trafficked minor girls. The way this got started, it was about 2.5 years ago. President prior to myself and the last president went to a meeting and saw a very moving speaker that was a retired sheriff talking about human trafficking. And she was absolutely shocked to find out that how much is going on here. You always kind of think the human trafficking goes on somewhere else. And she came back to the club as president and said, we'd like to help build a home at the Bridging Freedom campus. And so we started the project that year, and I've been the chair of it ever since. So I'm messing up now. You got to start me over here.
No, that's okay. So one of the things on what you just said, there was an interesting thing. I finally watched Sound of Freedom. Okay. It's a little bit disturbing of a movie, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this and watching it have seen it. If you haven't seen it, it chronicles a story and just shows how susceptible a child in this situation is to being taken. So after it was done, besides, watching it and realizing it's Human Trafficking Awareness Month, I did a little bit of research. I usually don't do any research for this show. It clearly shows in the product, but in this particular case, I did. And I found something extremely interesting, and I wrote it down here and made a note. From the 15th to the 19th century, in the height of slavery in human civilization, in one of the darkest periods in American history, the number of slaves was 13 million total in that whole couple 100-year period. Currently, in the world, there are over 40 million people in some form of slavery. That is 3 times what it was at the height of slavery in the United States, which to me, granted, it's a population, there's a huge population, but the correlation between the population and the amount of people in slavery does not match. It is super disturbing to know that goes on worldwide. But what's really disturbing to know is that it goes on and it's so prevalent here in Pasco County. And I'm terrible with names, but the guy's name was Bob, right? Who came and presented and showed us the different stuff.
Bob works at Bridging Freedom, which is an organization that we're partnering with. And they currently have 2 homes on their campus. It is a secure campus, and Bridging Freedom provides therapeutic services, including everything from medical to mental to education, socialization. These kids have never known a real life. The human trafficking, sexually trafficked kids starts as as average age is 6 years old, the average age. So this campus can take girls from the age of 12 to 17, and they typically stay there for about a year, get therapy, get their GED, get some life skills training and things like that, so that they have a shot at actually getting out in the world and, making a life for themselves after having gone through all of this.
And they also get therapy, like, to help. I mean, because that's one of the things that in the movie that's pretty, like, super evident. Like, it's a PTSD, like, super traumatic thing to have happen to you. You don't just get out of a situation where you're being held captive and go back to 5th grade or 3rd grade and pretend like it's normal. It's super disruptive to their psyche, and
Absolutely.
the campus gives them a way to kind of work their way back and have some social skills and
Yes.
be able to get back into it. The thing
I mean,
that
just think about it. A lot of them don't even know
disturbing-
what a lot of them don't even know what money is.
Right.
They have to teach them pretty much everything. And the program is customized to each child. So it just depends on the situation for the girl that is in their care.
So one of the things, and I want to get into a little bit about the campus, the undisclosed location and that, but one of the things I found super disturbing at one of our Rotary Club meetings, probably about a year and a half ago, and I believe it was Bob, talked about all the different apps that traffickers use to lure kids into situations where they can abduct them. And it's like, if you're listening to this or watching it, it's apps that you wouldn't even think were like anything of any kind of danger. And he showed a whole list of them. And I remember looking at the screen saying, like, this is such a business. This is such a disgusting, disturbing business. And people are figuring out ways to try to circumvent law enforcement.
Right. Well, if you think about it, when I was a kid, my parents were terrified that I was going to be, snatched and grabbed somewhere. The snatch and grab doesn't happen that way anymore. These kids are online constantly, and they are interacting with people that they do not know. People impersonate, younger, that they're a young person, and trap these kids into maybe sending a picture of themselves, and they groom them basically through the app. And so the biggest danger that I can tell a parent is a stranger on an app is probably more dangerous today than a stranger walking down the street. And the kids will just, if they're chatting with somebody that's, somebody that parents don't want to know about, they'll just turn off the app and parents will never know about it. So it's important to let your kids know that if it's somebody you don't personally know from in person, you should not interact with them.
Well, and that's the big thing. The person that you're interacting with, it can very likely and very easily misrepresent who they are to make you feel like there's someone your level, not some adult that's trying to do something nefarious to try to lure you out.
Right.
The other thing too, which I wanted to talk about a little bit, is the campus. So there was an update in one of our meetings, and I know I don't look like I'm paying attention, but I really do pay attention. There was a conversation about, through what we've done in our Rotary Club, and listen, our Rotary Club initiated it. I don't want to make it like it's just our club. There are other clubs all throughout our district in this market that have contributed to helping us. We just took the initiative. But through what we've raised, like, can you get into what our goal was, where we're at right now, and by getting to where we're at right now, it helped the Bridging Freedom Group be able to get the money that they need to expand the campus?
Yes. So we started off the project. The target was $500,000. Over the course of the time we've been raising money, we've had some significant inflation, and we did have some problems with supply chain. So we kind of got delayed on building. But the cost of the home now is $600,000. It is a 6-bedroom, 6 private bath house that has 24-hour coverage in the house by a staff member to make sure that everything is going okay. And so we have now raised $300,000 in cash and $100,000 approximately of in-kind contributions. And with that, that leaves us about $200,000 to go. we have, in fact, gotten a lot of support from area Rotary clubs because this resonates with a lot of people. But the big news is that Bridging Freedom had always intended to borrow some money, and they had a lender that would give them the money while we continued to raise funds. So the idea is we would give them the down payment and then keep on raising money while they started building. So because of the fact that we've been able to do so much, their lender turned around and said, not only will you be able to build this house, but we'll loan you the money to build a fourth house, as well as a lodge that's going to be used for training and education and all sorts of multi-purpose things. So we're having an impact here of 3 structures for the $600,000 that we're raising. And it's going to have the impact of allowing space for 12 additional girls to stay. So that'll make the total capacity at Bridging Freedom 24. And believe it or not, right now, the total number of beds in Florida is somewhere between 30 and 40 beds for these girls. And that number fluctuates a lot because most of the time it'll be a church or somebody that tries to set it up, but then the operating costs get so high that they just can't sustain it. And the great thing about Bridging Freedom is that they've got a solid business model for making sure that they're operating. They do get help from the state for operations, and they're a solid financial organization. So by the time that they're done building these 2 additional homes, they'll probably have the majority of the beds in the state for these poor kids.
So one of the other things I wanted to make sure I point out is this is an undisclosed location, and part of the reason why the individual structures are 6 bedrooms, 6 bath is because these children are so used to being in a group with a dozen or more people where they're thrown together. They've never had like their own space to actually figure out that behavior. So it gives them the ability to have that space. It gives them, with our contributions, other Rotary clubs, and the ability to get lending. Now we have this campus being built. The other question I had for you is, you talked about the cash that we've raised, which is amazing. The in-kind donations. I know one of the issues and concerns is because it's an undisclosed location, people that work at the site need to be background checked and all this other stuff. So can you call out to right now here on the podcast, is there any in-kind donations that we could drastically use? Do we need a roofer, a builder, a mason, electrician? Who are the tradesmen that we need that could provide some of those in-kind donations? Do you have that handy?
We could use a plumber. We could use some folks to do interior framing. Basically any construction labor in general. The concrete slab that it's being poured on, somebody would donate the materials or the slab all itself. The campus is on septic and wells, so if they could help expand the septic system from what's currently there. So those are the main things. If there's a building supply company out there that would be willing to donate the doors, the interior doors and the windows, we could take appliances, cabinets. There's all sorts of different things that we could take. So I don't know what the best way is for people to reach back out, but maybe through you.
So what we're going to do when we produce this, we're going to produce it on our YouTube channel. We're going to produce the video. We're going to give the Rotary Club, our club, access to the embedded links so that they could post it on sites. We could post it on our page. We could post it on our social media, all that stuff. But I want to make sure I point out, if you're listening to this and you work for a plumber, a framer, a general labor, concrete, building supply, plumbing, septic type people, or if you just happen to be sitting in your Lamborghini and you have an extra $200,000 in cash and you want to feel super philanthropic, we will take cash to help finish this project and help expand it. This is such I get choked up thinking about it, what we're doing, because seeing so many people in our club with children these ages and watching the way it affects them to hear about what's going on, it's super intense. Like, it is people coming into our group to talk about what's going on. It's super intense. It's super impactful. So, folks, if you're listening to this and you think that the Rotary Club is a bunch of old men having breakfast at Waffle House, arguing over whether they're on the left or the right politically, or if they're a Bucks fan or they hate Northerners moving down to Florida, whatever you think the Rotary Club is, I can promise you the Wesley Chapel Rotary is making a difference in Pasco County. You're more than welcome to come to our meeting and check out what we're doing. We meet on Wednesdays at noon in Lexington Oaks at the Country Club Omari's. If you want to find out more information, we will provide links. You could always text or call my cell phone number directly, which is 678-899-0656. Feel free to email us. My email is mike@gnppasco.com. If you don't know any other way to get a hold of us, you could use those two outlets. Come check out what we're doing at the Rotary. Be a part of it. Alison, thank you so much for coming on and giving us a little bit of background. We're gonna hit our goal in the next 6 months. I know it. And hopefully this is a way for us to get the message out there. So thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. And one more thing, if there's anybody out there that has an organization that would like to learn more about this, I would be happy to come speak to you.
Well, Alison, do you want to give your contact information? My contact information is everywhere in Pasco County and Tampa and in Central Florida. You're more than welcome to give out your information.
All right. Well, the best way to reach me through Rotary is email is info@wcrotary.com. If you would like to find see a video about the project, you can go to buildthathome.com, which has a video about it, and it also has a donation link. And then if you check out wcrotary.com, we're always doing projects to help raise funds. And the next one on our radar right now is a clay shoot, which is a big thing for a lot of people in this area. And that is going to be on March 15th. So that might be a good way to reach out as well. So info@WC Rotary is the best way to get me.
So guys, we will take one person with $200,000 laying around, 2 people with $100,000 each, 4 people with $50,000, or I don't know, 200 people with $1,000 each. Help us get to the finish line. Thank you so much, Alison. I'm laughing at my math in my head. I was going to get lost in the math for a second. Thank you so much for being a good neighbor. Thank you so much for being on the Good Neighbor podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Pasco. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnppasco.com. That's gnppasco.com, or call 813-922-3610.